All right, recording again. How often in the last year did you eat cheese? Cheeseburgers, by itself, subs, sandwiches. How much did you usually eat? I pulled this question out of a 142-page list of questions called the DHQ3 from cancer.gov. Dietary and health advice is often generated from questionnaires like this one used in observational studies. Questionnaires are also called memory-based assessment methods, or MBMs. I've spent a lot of time changing up my diet and my lifestyle in order to improve my health. And a part of that has been reading research studies directly. And what I've found is that the data from questionnaires like the DHQ3 are little better than guesswork. And the results in the observational studies don't seem to get us to the truth. I'd like to convince you to look at health headlines and dietary guidance with a more skeptical eye. Let's take a look at the data and the conclusions that we draw from them. As I said, MBMs are unreliable, and observational studies where researchers are basically just asking people what they're doing and writing it down often conflict with each other. And if you try to convert those observational studies with clinical trials where researchers can make changes and record those outcomes, they often are not confirmed. And we've known the problems for MBMs for a long time. All the way back in 1953, Baudoin and Mayer in the Journal of the American Dietetic Association saw that people fudged their answers in those kinds of questionnaires. And they seem to report what they feel is socially acceptable rather than what's accurate. And in a report in the Journal of Clinical Epidemiology number 104, Edward Archer and his colleagues called MBMs pseudoscientific and said that they should never be used to inform public policy or to establish dietary guidelines, which are the two things that we use them for. In the journal PLOS ONE, Edward Archer again says of the NHANES survey that the calorie intake data is not physiologically plausible, meaning the reported numbers were so low that people couldn't possibly be living on them. This is a major study that's ongoing through the CDC and is actually used to help set the dietary guidelines, which we just established we shouldn't be doing. We can also see that observational studies on the same subject, looking at the same relationships, contradict each other. In the International Journal of Epidemiology, Volume 17, Linda C. Mays published a paper about 56 different topics with multiple studies that contradicted each other, sometimes even in the same journal, in the same volume. And that study was done over 30 years ago. Young and Carr contend in the journal Significance number 8 that any claim from observational studies is most likely wrong. And when the studies are carefully examined, the supposed links disappear. It also turns out that if you try to replicate the results of those observational studies using clinical trials, you often can't do it. In the Journal of the American Medical Association, number 242, Ioannidis shows that 80% of observational studies that they attempt to replicate don't show a relationship, or they show a much weaker relationship. And in the Young and Carr paper from Significance number 8, 0 out of 12 studies that they looked at were confirmed, and 5 of 12 showed the opposite result. So if the data the studies are based on are suspect, and the studies themselves are unreliable, what can you do? Well, you need to be aware of the shortcomings of headlines and take a look at the data yourself where you can. Headlines are often strongly worded, and imply relationships that the research just doesn't support. Things like women who eat breakfast cereal have more sons. It's a great sounding headline. Makes you want to click on it and find out if that's true. But when Young and Carr, in significance number 8 again, reviewed the original data, which was based on an MBM, not about breakfast cereal, but about 133 different foods that people ate, the results were the same as chance. You can also find a lot of the studies that headlines are about through Google Scholar. It's a searchable database of real papers published in real peer-reviewed journals that you can find yourself. You're not going to find everything there, but you can find a tremendous amount. Or in the case of the NHANES study that we talked about earlier with the physiologically implausible results, the CDC publishes that directly. And you can just go to the CDC website or type NHANES into your favorite search engine, and it should be one of the top couple of results. This is just a short introduction to the issues about research and how you can keep yourself from being misdirected by clickbait headlines. So we've looked at the data used for the studies and the studies themselves and where you can find the information to help keep yourself safe. But what about the question I asked you at the beginning? Is your answer different now? If you think about it, did you shade the answer one way or another based on what I wanted to hear or what you thought the answer should be? Like, maybe you shouldn't eat as much cheese as you do eat. Maybe you know that I'm a big fan of cheese. And so you're thinking maybe you want to say you eat a little more. How sure that are you that your answer is accurate? How sure are you that the answers of your fellow audience members are accurate? Next time you see a health headline, I hope you'll take a minute to really think about the research and what the methodology was. Was it a clinical trial? Was it an observational study? Do you think that the data it's based on is good? And does the study itself support the claims in that headline? Take a few minutes to think about it before you decide whether you're going to act. All right, that's the whole thing.
Nice job, Gene.
If I can get you guys to just go around real quick and introduce yourselves. I was supposed to put that at the beginning.
Okay, I'll start. I'm Caroline.
Hey.
Hi there, I'm Jefferson.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you next time.